Hey, this is Braxton. Welcome to my studio here in Brighton. Today I'm going to take you through my track, The River. I forgot what it's called. It's called The River. It's out now on my SpaceTime EP on Anjunadeep. Cool, I'm going to take you through it, sort of. Actually, no, let's start with the main bits. It's kind of based around this stuff here, realistically, which is just the bass and the pads. But let's go through those pads at the start first. This is all kind of like built on from the Minilog. It's kind of like a sort of patch I put together. Used the onboard delay and reverb and stuff and just bounced it. And then there's also this one here, which is the Korg M1, which is kind of like more of a choiry sort of sound. I think what I was going for was kind of like a sort of orbital underworld kind of like 90s rave thing, because it's, you know, festival season coming up and all that. So I've got Jupiter in here as well, which, if I recall correctly, is quite an aggressive sounding pad sound. But I quite liked it. It kind of worked at the time. And then these kind of four pads all sort of evolve in and out of each other. They've all got like Fab Filter's filter sort of processing them. So as one kind of comes into the mix, one of them will duck out of the mix sort of thing. So they're all kind of like moving in harmony. And then below that, we've got a bunch of just atmosphere-y sort of stuff. So yeah, all this sort of stuff here, which is just, a lot of this is kind of pushed back in the mix. It's just kind of, or it's going like, you know, sort of back and forth, side to side, just to kind of add a bit more sort of energy and make it sound like it's evolving a little bit. And then this stuff here is just all of the, you know, white noise and crashes and noisy bits and bobs. The bass sound, which is two elements, sort of two main elements. The top end is Neuphonium, which is made by Plug Alliance, which is a great synth. I use it on everything pretty much. And then the low end is just kind of the Moog, which is just kind of giving me the subs. This was good enough, but that just adds a real kind of warmness to that low end. So that the Moog is just doing literally the low end of the bass, the very, very sub of the bass, and then the Neuphonium's doing everything else. And then the Neuphonium's kind of like automating, so the sort of frequency is kind of cutting in and out and doing all sorts of different stuff. It's just kind of, it's all over the place a little bit. Cool. And then drums are pretty much here all the way down to about here. And it's all kind of built around this sort of ravey break, which is from, can't remember where it's from. But again, it's kind of like that, you know, 90s underworldy sort of vibe. The kicks, these two here. The main kick is this one, the 909 obviously, which is quite saturated and sort of compressed quite a lot. I think the original kick on the drum, on the very first version of this track was this one, which was just a bit too weighty, a bit too meaty, but I quite liked that initial clip. So I kind of took out the entire tail of it and got rid of like all the low end and just kept that sort of knock sound, that initial transient, basically just that bit there, literally that bit there. And then paired that with the 909 just so it kind of cut through the mix a bit better. And then we got that main ravey thing, bunch of hats, bunch of different claps, including this weird little ping thing, which I quite liked. This has quite a lot of weird sort of effects and delays going all over the place and stuff. And then a 909 And then we've got a bunch of percussive elements here as well. So these are all kind of like sort of proggy crashes and things like that just ring out throughout the whole track. Again, giving it a bit more kind of energy and mood and stuff. Cool. So, and then with the mix, everything kind of gets bussed out into these 5 groups here. So all my drums on one track, all my low end, all my synths, all kind of like being processed sort of independently and then pushed into the main output. The synths have got, let's have a little look. Neutron, just kind of like sort of dynamically removing a bit of that kind of muddiness. And then AMEC, which is a really good EQ from Plugin Alliance as well, which is just kind of like create a bit of stereo width and then a bit more sort of top end sheen. And then with the low end, we've got, it's limiting a little bit, Ozone, which is just knocking down everything below, what's that, around about 200 hertz, is just being pushed into mono, just so there's no sort of like crazy sort of flabby mono bass stuff going in either channel. Track spacer, which is pretty cool just to use as a what's it called, sidechain compression, or like sidechain volume automation, I guess it is. And then what else we got? And then just like EQs, probably just knocking bit, yeah, just like top and tail EQ and that sort of thing. And then on my main output, that all goes into press work, which is quite a nice stereo bus EQ, stereo bus compressor. It's not really doing much, it's really, really gently just compressing anything that's kind of sort of too far. And then that goes to another output, which is running Better Maker and another AMEC. This limiter here is just for the purpose of this video, basically. Without these two, this is kind of how hollow it sounds. Sounds alright, but yeah, just I tend to mix into these two plugins and very minorly tweak these two kind of presets just to kind of get like a decent overall sound, and then I'll mix into these two. So this one is just kind of like tightening everything up, adding a bit of low end, and then this one is just sort of, it basically between these two it's kind of imitating what a Pultec EQ would do. It's just kind of like pushing the low end a little bit, pushing the top end a little bit. And then that goes and gets sent off and gets mastered. And that's about it. If you've got any questions or comments or anything like that at all, stick them in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram. I will get back to every single one of you, answer any questions you got at all. Yeah, hopefully see some of you on the dance floor very soon or on the beach. Nice one.